Hello and welcome to this week's Hippie Hyena. So this week I thought I wanted to look at the phenomena of right-wing nutjobs having a problem with education, the education system, and why a lot of them are sort of recommending homeschooling and other things like that. I mean, a lot of us have probably seen these videos happening at sort of school public meetings with seemingly deranged Karens talking absolute nonsense to school boards. But I just thought it'd be interesting to see where that sort of attitude comes from, because it's not happening in a vacuum, and more specifically the right wing has why do they have a problem with education, and how does that tie into the wider right wing mindset? And to do that, I thought we'd take a look at a Sydney Watson video, as we've looked at her before on this channel. At this time, she's going on about why she doesn't like teachers and what's happening in the classroom. So I thought it would be a good example to take a look at these points. Let's jump straight in.
Now, it's been long understood that the education system is more or less inherently left-wing, at least when it comes to universities and higher education.
And there's a reason for this. Of course, when your ideology is essentially idiocy, then education seems like indoctrination. But it ain't. It's just like, of course, it's absolutely no surprise that the more you educate people, the less right-wing they are. Because, as I frequently stated on this channel, the right-wing perspective just doesn't hold up to any degree of thought or scrutiny.
And this infection has made its way into many areas, if not most areas of academia, including medicine and the sciences.
And what she means by that, of course, is that medicine has been saying that the vaccine is good and can help people stop getting COVID, which is dangerous and so on, which she disagrees with based on no evidence and is obviously wrong about. And science has been saying that climate change is real and maybe something should be done about it based on evidence, and she doesn't like that based on no evidence and is obviously wrong about. Because fundamentally, the worlds of medicine and science have a duty towards the truth in some way. In medicine, they have a duty of care, and most people get into medicine because they care about helping people, care about keeping people alive, in which case they're going to support policies that do that, and therefore they're going to be at direct odds with the right wing. And then there is the field of science, which, you know, is kind of the closest thing we've got to humans being objective, at least I would argue in the sort of non-spiritual world, and they have like a peer review system to help cut out the bullshit. It's not perfect, but it's, you know, one of the best things we've got. And of course, cutting out the bullshit means they're going to be in direct conflict with right-wing ideology, which is 100% bullshit, like pretty much every step of the way. So when she says that these like institutions have gone far left or whatever, what she just means is they're being truthful and supporting reality, and she wishes they didn't, because she doesn't.
But more than that, the one area that this ideology is beginning to take root, if it hasn't taken root already, is in kindergarten, primary school, and secondary school, where the freshest of minds are there to be molded into the hammer and sickle. Just kidding. But not really.
Now, I don't think indoctrination is happening in school. As I said, when your ideology is idiocy, then education appears like indoctrination. But let's be realistic here. She's not complaining about indoctrination happening in schools in general. She just wishes it was her ideology that was being indoctrinated into children in schools. And this is the thing you've got to watch out for conservatives, is that they often try to talk as if they have the moral high ground. But what you'll notice is it's never that they're annoyed that these injustices are happening in general. They're just annoyed that they're happening to favour people who aren't them specifically. I mean, you look at a lot of the sort of big people right now, like Ben Shapiro. There's literally videos on his channel of him going into kindergarten to spread his bullshit to kindergartners. There's also Matt Walsh, who we've covered on this channel, raving self-admitted fascist, who's written a transphobic children's book in order to try and indoctrinate children into his awful hatred, bigotry nonsense. So it's clear that they have absolutely no interest in stopping the indoctrination of children in general. They just wish that they were doing it more than the other people.
In addition to things like critical race theory, which has concerned parents all over the place.
And as we know, as we've mentioned a couple of times on this channel, CRT is just conservative newspeak for not being racist. And of course it has parents concerned because they've been riled up by channels like yours into thinking that it's something that it's not, or just making up a whole load of nonsense to rile them up. As, to be honest, you're doing literally right now. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's going to be parents concerned because you are deliberately trying to concern them. There are enough stupid parents out there for you to rile up into a ludicrous state over nothing.
There has been a rise of very, very loud progressive teachers going on the internet and telling you exactly what they're doing in their classrooms. In fact, if you peruse TikTok for long enough, you'll come across plenty of coming out to my students videos.
I'm about to come out to all my students.
I just realized in post-edit that this audio is probably copyrighted, so yeah, this is basically just this human being telling his class that he's non-binary and responds to all pronouns, and then everyone applauds. Literally.
Well, this should be a heartwarming story of a teacher being able to be themselves in their lives, and the fact that everyone applauded is a good thing. I mean, it's really a wholesome story. And to be honest, it could be a teachable moment, because teachers do have a responsibility not just to teach students the curriculum and so on, but they also have a responsibility to help them learn about the world and broaden their minds and feel comfortable in who they are. And who knows, it's likely that amongst a classroom of 30, 50 children, I don't know how many children they have in American classrooms, where I'm assuming this is probably 200, there's probably going to be a percentage of kids who are in the same boat as this teacher, and them coming out could give them the confidence to be themselves in their own lives. It's nothing but a good thing.
I don't think I'll ever understand why adults feel the need to do this to children that are not their own.
Mentally ill and emotionally disturbed.
Well, the reason that you don't understand it is because A, you're kind of dumb and don't really understand very much, and B, because you're kind of a bigot. And to be honest, as a parent, I'd way have this guy / girl explaining that he's non-binary or gay or whatever it is he is. In fact, I'd almost rather anyone than someone like Sydney Watson teaching my children. That would be pretty much my worst nightmare.
Or you'll find them explaining their pronouns and then forcing children to use them.
What the are you talking about? We already force people to use preferred pronouns all the time. Or can I call you Mr. Sydney Watson? I mean, imagine if Sydney Watson was a teacher and I was her student and I put up my hand and said, Sir, Mr. Watson. How do you think she'd react? Probably quite poorly. Getting people to use people's preferred pronouns out of politeness has been standard human behavior for 100 years? 200 years? I don't know.
And it was so awesome today. I was in charge of our active activity, and one of the kids referred to me as a girl, and one of my kids was like, Jamie doesn't have a gender. Jamie's not a girl. Oh my god. And the kid was just like, what do you mean? And she was just like, Jamie doesn't have a gender. Jamie is not a girl. I like the way that has me is so emotional.
No part of that story was about anyone being forced to do anything, though, was it? It was about a discussion amongst children and just a teacher feeling validated in their own identity, which is a good thing. It seems mad to have to remind people, but that is good. That's good that people feel validated in their identity. And look what a difference it made to this person. Such a small gesture like this has made all the difference in this person's life, and it's such a small thing, and just the utter cruelty of Sydney Watson and her ilk's bigotry that they don't even want to let this person have that tiny little piece of happiness. Someone who has probably sacrificed a lot. I know a lot of teachers, and it's a tough thing to do, and it's pretty much rewardless in terms of at least financially, and it's certainly a massive time drain. People tend to do it because they have a passion for helping people, really, and help develop children and building the next generation and sacrificing a lot to do so. And then this whole thing is they're trying to frame it as if it's sort of in some way helping children or something, or, you know, some kind of noble-ish cause, but it ain't. This really shows what it is. It's just nothing but cruelty. Cruelty and bullying that they want to extend into the classroom and have no place where people like this Jamie teacher can feel happy and safe. They're like the sort of school bully who doesn't even want to let their school bullying victim have a happy home life and try and get inside their house to with them there. Absolute scumbags. So, what can we learn from this? Well, as I said, if your ideology is idiocy, then education seems like indoctrination. But it's more than just idiocy. It's that they are a kind of throwback, a kind of retarded, and I mean that in the sense of retarded development, not as a slur, but like a previous step back on the social evolutionary tree. And they're like stuck in that past and don't realise that the rest of the world has moved on. And that's the kind of idiot they are. And that's why when education is happening, they see that as a form of indoctrination. But it's not. It's just meeting people where they are, you know? And the funny thing is that these people are very fond of talking about how facts don't care about your feelings. You know, that's a catchphrase of Ben Shapiro, a famous right-wing demagogue. But it's also a general slogan shared around by these types. And what's ironic about that is that they are constantly at odds with the facts. Their feelings are hurt by the facts, like in the sense of, like, you know, their vaccine denialism, their COVID denialism, their climate change denialism, and in some extreme cases, even the shape of the earth denialism. A lot of them are flat earthers. Well, not a lot, but a percentage are. And because their feelings are telling them one thing, but the facts are telling them something different, they have to try and fight those facts by calling them something other than they are. You know, in the past, in the time that they are a throwback to, people generally got to bully marginalised people with impunity. They got to treat the most vulnerable people in our society like absolute shit and get away with it. And they enjoyed that because they were essentially sadists. But now that's changing. Now they can't do that so much. And that's really what they're upset about. And the thing is, as I said before, like the world of like academia, like science and medicine and education too, has to deal with reality. They have a responsibility to educate children about reality, as in deal with the world as it is now, not as those people wish it was in a sort of imagined, nostalgic, golden age that would have been horrible. So obviously to these throwbacks who don't realise the world has moved on, it does seem like indoctrination, but it ain't. And what a good thing that our children can have a real diverse group of people teaching them, that they can be exposed to difference, because the more diversity they are exposed to, the more freedom they have, because the more options they have to pursue whatever identity or lifestyle suits them as an individual. And that's true libertarianism. You can't be into traditionalism and libertarianism. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this episode. Hippie hyena out. Goodbye.